This is Recruitment Agency Ignition with Andy Whitehead. Helping you build your recruitment employment business fast. Using digital and automation and one-to-many systems, tools, and inbound strategies.
First of all, give us your before. So give everyone your 2-minute story. Who was Andy? How did you get to where you were just before you joined us?
I've been with the RMI for about 6 months now, and the previous 26 years I've done the same thing. I've been a sales recruiter, and I ended up with RMI because I hit my bottom. Basically, my value was not being seen in the marketplace. I was getting lowballed and everything. I couldn't get past 25-year-old internal recruiters, and I ran across while I was just doing research on different models of recruiting. I came across the RMI, the laptop recruiter, and then over time it spoke to me, and then I decided, hey, I got nowhere else to go. The officer and a gentleman thing. That's where I was at, and so that's what brought me here.
On the business, so if you could summarize, so you know, being lowballed, what was going on in the business before? So we've got vast experience, but the environment's changed, the industry's changed, and it's going to change even more. Hugely believe bigger businesses will go out of business in the next 2 years. Even smaller businesses who don't systemize, don't automate. But if we go back a couple of steps before you and I even spoke, and just give an overview of what was going on in terms of the client side. What were the main 3 constraints that were going on? Candidate side, main 3 constraints that were going on. Just break it down that way first of all.
On the client side, and this is something that's so valuable about RMI, is that I had tons of niches. I was the guy that handled everything. It didn't matter what it was, but so it's like a mile wide and an inch deep. And so I started to lose out for the bigger fees to the retained searches or people that had been in the same niche for as long as I'd been in, or it doesn't even matter if they've been in it for 5 years, they would still have more experience in niches that I was trying to work on. And so I just spread too thin that in terms of the clients. I also was coming from not so much what I can do for you. I mean, I would say what I could do for you based on how great I am, but it was still, me talking about, and I did this and I did that, blah blah blah. So that would be on the client side, number 2, and number 3, the automation factor. I was getting. I didn't have the tools, and it's funny that how simple, just not understanding or knowing where to find out about the RMI type strategies and tools.
So if we made that relevant,
so that would be for.
So Andy, but I think we've got a slight delay, by the way. So my apologies if it's like I'm interjecting. So a third component then from the client side, we got mile wide niche. We've got focus. We'll talk about shortly. Spreading yourself too thin as a result. You talking about we get into sales mode, but then the reference into the automation. But from a client perspective specifically, what was the third component? And it could be the use of automation, but is it what was happening before client side that was a constraint for you? So
got it. Well, I changed. I started from scratch with this niche. What I guess crossover would be is that the ways in which I approached getting clients. It was if I did an email blast, that's what it was. It was email blast. There was no dripping, and so there was. And when people didn't get back to me, I got angry. I took it personally. I didn't realize that it could be the 3rd or 4th email, before someone even sees it. Doesn't matter, because I was writing these amazing emails, but if nobody sees it, it doesn't matter. And so, okay, so I'm jumping into
No, that's good.
how I fixed it.
So basically we had a basically short-term view of the entire client process. Short-term view of the
Yes.
client process.
Yeah.
Okay, good. What was going on from the candidate side? So from the candidate side, and guys, now if you listen to what Ken was saying a couple of weeks ago, we've got different constraints here. We've got different constraints. So we got the client side, we got certain constraints going on. From the candidate side, what were the key constraints to you before? If you think about the sort of daily operation, what's happening in the business?
Mine was really client side, because I was taking on companies that were, well, okay, that's a fair question, because I did have clients, so it wasn't like I didn't have any openings. I just didn't work on them because it seemed like these were impossible to fill. But I've passed over my clients to my partners to work on, and then I'm teaching them how to approach it the way that I've been approaching the fintech space, so that they could actually find it. I didn't, again, this would be something about not having the right tools or understanding how to find these people. I was doing it the old-fashioned way, which was, when I was even doing the old-fashioned way. The old-fashioned way is just straight cold call recruiting. I was, you know what? I was doing a lot of post and pray, and posting used to make me. I used to make a lot of placements off of posting, but the candidates that were coming through posting now, there's very few, and they just were very low quality. They were desperate people. They weren't passive candidates like I have now.
Good. So we've got this post and pray. Love that. And of course, we know the impact of quality with the candidate is going to be low. Let's do this then. So if we think about, we've got, by the way, guys, can you relate to any of this? Client side, candidate side. But if we think about what's happened, so in terms of the shift. So again, we're talking high level now. We'll get deep in a second around the niche and digging deep, etc. But in terms of maybe the client wins or the client shifts that you've had in the last, well, since being up with RMI at a high level, if you could summarize in 1, 2, 3. So again, Ken's gone from contingent to retained. Ken's gone from unpredictable weeks, months, days into predictable. Every day he knows he gets 2 to 3 inbound appointments or inbound leads, etc. happening. For you, what's been the three high level client wins?
Well, my very first one, which I mean, how do I say the client name, or just describe it? How do you want me to?
Yeah, we'll come to the specific clients in a second. We'll dig deep on the actual tactical steps that you've gone through. But I mean, what's at a high level from a client shift? So so in terms of your client process or your client now time, your client future, what's the sort of 3 big shifts that happen for you?
Well, the double R, because one thing you told me when we first spoke was basically just start doing it. Don't worry about making mistakes. And you've thought that, well, I mean, you were accurate. You said that I would be too analytical and think too much. And one of the things was with the double R is I didn't realize how many sub niches there were in the fintech space. So I was doing exactly, starting off with 25 every other day, and then, moved up to 25 a day, and then 50. But everyone was jumbled together. There wasn't, real estate technology was mixed in with insurance technology. And so, and my message, I use Keith's very, very, very basic template for the double R. And what I realized, so the win for me was just that somebody responded, that and I hadn't sent out that many. I think maybe in the possibly in the first 25 I sent out, I got a response, and just the excitement of being able to just call just to get actual calls, because in the past my problem wasn't closing once I was in the call. It was getting the calls. So that was a huge win. Just the first person saying, "Hey, let's talk." Although it had nothing to do with me, it had to do with the company. But these are small wins. Yeah.
But that's what we want, though, just a high level sort of client win. So we've got this process now. Now we know if we put X through, we're going to get X coming back in this iterative process. And you're absolutely right. When we first spoke, was Andy, you're I say this with love. Most members who come to us are one of two camps. One is the put in the China shop, just bam, bam, bam. What do? Or we got and I fail from both. We've got the perfectionist who overthinks everything, and the reality is we want something in the middle. When we start a campaign, I'm putting this here. When we start a campaign, just do it. Just do it. So if we get someone submitting a template, how's this look? Well, have you used the core templates in the members area? Yeah. But how's it look? Or test it first of all. And then we get through an iterative approach. So just do it, I think is one of the key lessons said there. But in terms of client wins, then we've now got a process with automated campaigns. We've also got this shift from the landscape that now I understand. Now you've got the ability to turn down business, not all the time, but we're in a growing phase, as opposed to this, as you say, dealing with young spotty kids who are not being respectful. So we've actually got the ability to. So for me, when I look at your shifts, I think one is the ability to actually turn down business. And we're not at the point now we can turn down everything we want, but we can turn down, as opposed to we have to take this role because times are shitty. Does that make sense?
And I have turned down more than one, which is pretty crazy considering where I was coming from financially.
Yeah, which is great. So for me, that bit of turn down business from where we were, sort of day one of Inner Circle, for me, that's a big win for you, having the ability to do that. And there's nothing better when, it might be an energy thing, it might be they're just playing douche, or it's just payment cycle, or it could be anything, wrong niche, but it's power when that happens. And for me, the third thing, when I look at what you've actually achieved there in terms of the actual, the shifts that we got going on, is you started to get a integrated view of your business now, Andy. Because when we first spoke, we had this, and I remember the room I was in, it was upstairs to the left when we spoke. And I remember when we spoke, you've become, again, this is said with love, you've got a very analytical mindset, haven't you? And we got this, almost, it can become, like you say here, with you got personally pissed off and affected when someone didn't come back to you. But now we understand the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh iteration of that communication will actually get the response. So for me, I think one of the key things here, but you may or may not know this yet, but I think what's actually happened is we started to get this view of business processes in the business, which when we first spoke, we didn't necessarily have such an understanding. And by that, we're not at the point now where everything's systemized and we've got this beast. We're not saying that. What I am saying is we're starting to understand that there's a set of systematic steps. So if we go back to what we said with Mike Tannenbaum, Mike on the call, how you doing? And we said to Mike a few weeks ago, didn't we, about these steps you go through. We got Mike came in as like having a job and a recruiter, and then step 2 with Mike, I want to become a technician. And what I mean by that is I want to understand that his business is broken up of, to get clients in, there's a set of just really simple steps. To get candidates in, a set of really real simple steps. And for you, now you've recognized that it's the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, response you get. We're breaking down your client funnels into simple steps. When we first spoke, despite your passion, which is you can fathom, I think for me that's a win for you. Breaking down your business into those steps. Does that make sense?
To me, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're talking to people in general, but
no,
yeah.
No, to you, definitely. Yeah. So there's a lot of things going on here. From the candidate side, if you could summarize one overall difference, what's different now in terms of the way you view the candidate side or the compared to where you were before? If you could give me one overall shift that maybe game plan one members could relate to, what would it be?
Well, I'm talking to a higher quality candidate. When I say higher quality, well, everyone knows what I mean in terms of these are people that are currently employed and they actually have value. Companies want them, and so the biggest thing is I'm talking to people that are not desperate. They're urgent for the right opportunity, but these are people that are successful. They're actually happy. And I started posting that on my LinkedIn. Whenever I say I have something new, or I say that, that I only deal with people that are currently employed and are happy where they're at. They're just ready for that next challenge. And when I listen to all these webinars and hear people doing better than me, faster than me, I can tell you that my bile would whatever happens with bile. So yeah, definitely, I see this. I see the shift as we're speaking right now.
If you could summarize in one statement, summary, paragraph, whatever it might be, and again, I'm focusing on breaking you out of the, oh shit, will this work? Oh fuck, yeah, sounds good, but compared to, fuck, this does work. If to get through that brick wall, which is what it is, what would you say if you give advice to someone, if you're having a coffee with someone on the call now who's going through that, what would you say?
Well, we actually spoke with Dawn yesterday and this morning, but I think Dawn's been with the group for 2 months, and I know that I also I'd interviewed probably about 30 people in RMI. I'm talking about just people in the inner circle, and what I noticed was the people that were not having success, that were complaining, that said this doesn't work, they weren't following the steps. And so so it's really to stick with it, because for me to take 6 months, I just closed my first deal yesterday, where it officially was signed on both ends for $37,500, and all my fees are they're all 3 times higher than they used to be. But it was tough to see that in that first 6 months. I didn't start seeing the light probably till maybe even as recently as 2 or 3 weeks ago. I saw the little things coming through, but with the RRR, starting to see people reply to just really light emails that I'd sent out. I mean, the follow-up things that were just so simple, like, hey, did my things fall through the cracks? Could you just let me know? And then someone would say, oh yeah, and they apologize to me and say, yeah, we actually have something coming up. But so the biggest thing would be just that if you follow the steps, and if you follow, even if you follow 3 out of the 10 steps, you are going to see success. And don't give up, but also don't just be focused on trying to get to the end of your year and get out by doing things that the old way. You have to put in, you have to be following the steps. If you're not getting results, and you've been, like 6 months, like myself, in it, then you're not following the steps.
So you've gone into this niche, which essentially is a more focused new niche as such, and we've got a certain type of fee now. What we haven't got though is we haven't even got our CAS done, which is, once you've got that done, I'm excited to see what happens there. But we've gone to this new niche and we've managed to triple our fees. The natural thought by someone on the call now would be, yeah, you're going to a new niche and the fees are a lot higher, but it's more competitive. There are businesses there already with authority. So how would you answer that?
It was very difficult for me because I was a general sales recruiter. So when I first talked to companies, I got hammered and I had to stand on my. It's funny. I actually the very first company, I tried to talk to them about the how I was being trained out of London on we're doing it in a way that no one else is doing it. And as I was trying to explain, the person was, I could tell the person was confused. So I went back to my old way of basically I'm gonna pick up the phone. I'm old school, and I'm gonna use my network. I'm gonna call, cold call everyone who's in your niche and that sort of thing. I mean, what happened was, and this goes back to the RRR, just by doing the volume of sending out, that you'll just get somebody that's just so frustrated that they don't care that you're not an expert in that niche. And then they when they talk to me, they know that I'm an expert in recruiting.
One of the reasons you've got the increased fees isn't because you're base positioning, although we'll come to your website and your LinkedIn in a second. But in short, what you've done is said, listen, there is going to be, I know 10% of the market need my services right now. Of those 10%, maybe 2 out of 10 are going to engage me and come back to me. So you put the volume through, as opposed to getting too analytical and making sure that the campaign converted as well as another.
Discover how to build your recruitment employment agency using one-to-many automation and inbound strategies before anyone else in your market specialization. Check out recruitmentmarketinginternational.com.